Hey, what's up everyone? In this video, I'm going to do some comparisons of paint finishes using this Tamiya acrylic paint here. This is XF79 Linoleum Deck Brown. Probably a pretty common color in lots of different types of modeling. And I'm going to do a 50-50 mix with each one of these products here. I've heard mixed suggestions on what to use for a thinner when thinning Tamiya paint. Because it has this flammable symbol on it, it's not really like a true water-based acrylic. There's some other stuff in there, obviously, it's flammable. And so thoughts are out on, hey, which thinner should I use for this? Well, what I've read so far is that depending on which type you use, you get different types of finishes. Maybe some are better than others, maybe some are more desirable than others, depending on what you're trying to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare all three. I'm going to paint each one of these pieces of styrene pie, and at the end, I'll merge it all together here, and we'll do a comparison of each finish, and we'll see what we get. So I typically use isopropyl alcohol for mixing this, and I've had great results. Other people say, no, you should be using lacquer thinner, and then I believe Tamiya recommends using their X-20A thinner. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to start with the isopropyl and then move on down the line. Paint each piece of pie, and we'll see what we get at the end. All right, so on over to the airbrush. Okay, so I am done spraying all the pieces here. I'm going to overlay a photo of the result rather than do a video here because I felt like the photo that you're seeing now is a better representation of the different types of finishes. And I'll label each one here as we go along. And I do want to preface that I did dull coat each piece before I actually sprayed it, just so they had some a good surface to stick the paint onto. So with each one, I kind of evaluated dry time, how even the paint comes out, the color, if there's any changes in color compared to the others, and what type of finish you get based on the thinner that was applied. So starting with IPA, dry time was really fast. Most of the time, using isopropyl alcohol as some sort of agent, whether it's a thinner or whatever, dries really fast because it evaporates really fast. So that was fine. So it's dry to the touch pretty quickly. As far as how even the paint goes, I did 2 coats on each one of these. If I wanted this IPA finish to look a little bit more even, I'd want to do a 3rd coat. It has sort of like a chalky type of feel to it. So that's one thing to note there, and that's probably why it's not as even as maybe I'd want it to be. Color tone, I didn't really see any changes in colors at the first because, you know, I'd only done that one first, and then once I had all the others done, it's a little bit, it's not as warm as some of the others. So there's some color shifting that's going on based on the thinner, just slightly, not a lot, but enough to notice. The finish is very flat. There's like no sheen or anything on it when looking at it in the light. And so if you're looking for something that's really, really flat, dries quick to the touch, this is a good choice there. Next, I did the lacquer thinner, and I did notice that dry time was a little bit longer. So it wasn't like a lot longer, maybe just another, I don't know, 20 seconds or so before it was dry. So there's a little bit more of a dry time there. Evenness, not as good as the IPA with 2 coats. I probably want to do another coat with that one if I wanted the color to be more even. I tried to make my spraying as even as possible, but even so, there's definitely noticeable differences there. The color tone is a little bit warmer than the others with the lacquer thinner. Don't know why that is, but I noticed it pretty much right away when I was comparing the pieces. The finish is also just as flat as the IPA, so there's that. It's a lot stinkier. It's very smelly stuff, so you definitely want extremely good ventilation when using the lacquer thinner, or any of these really. But of all of them, the lacquer thinner was definitely the most stringent to the nostrils. And then moving on to the X-20A, the dry time on this was really long. So you have to wait a little bit before doing another coat. It definitely took a lot longer. Even afterwards, dry to the touch took a little bit of time as well. but the evenness is superb. As you can see in the photo, it looks a lot more even than the others, and that's with 2 coats. I probably could have got away with a single coat and have it be pretty even. I did 2 coats anyways. I wouldn't need to do a third with this one. Really happy with the evenness of that. The warmth compared to the other ones, it's not as warm as the lacquer thinner. It's about the same type of warmness as the isopropyl alcohol. So I'm going to say, since this X-20A is pretty much what Tamiya recommends as a thinner, I'm going to go with this is what the color is supposed to look like. Even with the IPA, the color is pretty much the same. The lacquer thinner did actually kind of modify that color slightly. That also could be because maybe I just need another coat or two to bring it up to the same evenness, but it's something worth noting. And then the finish, it's not as flat as the others. There's a little bit of a sheen to it. It's not like semi-gloss or anything, but you do notice it's a very smooth to the touch. It's almost as if this is the color of the molded plastic that it's on. And so because of that, I think that's why it looks basically like it has some sort of sheen to it. It's not as flat, although you could just throw a coat of dull coat on that, and that would pretty much take care of it anyway. So that's that. The other thing I did notice with the X-20A is that and I cleaned the airbrush after each one thoroughly using isopropyl alcohol each time, but after using the X-20A for the thinner, the airbrush cleaned up a lot faster and a lot better. So I don't know what it is about that, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. It made cleanup a lot easier, which was nice. Yeah, so each one of those are all my personal results with these, with 2 coats, and that's that. So as far as what to use when, you can take this information and use it however you will. Personally, I'm going to keep using IPA for most of what I do with Tamiya paints. I'm not doing a lot of like double, triple coats of paint on things. I'm using them for like weathering rail cars and scenery and things like that. And so if I wanted to have, say I wanted to have stripped down a rail car to no paint and then repaint the whole thing, and I'd want a nice solid coat, I would immediately grab the X-20A as my thinner because it has such a beautiful evenness to the paint that if I want a nice big block of solid color, that's what I'd want to use. Personally, I'll probably never use the lacquer thinner with the acrylic paints. I don't really see an advantage in what I do. You may. Maybe you want that color to be a little bit warmer than it is. I didn't try a cool color. I tried a warm color this time, so maybe that color would be even cooler than using the lacquer thinner than the others. Not sure, but maybe if I feel up to it in the future, maybe I'll test that out as well. But those are my thoughts on it. Take this information however you want. And then, yeah, so hopefully got something out of this. It was definitely interesting for me. And, yeah, I'm glad I got the X-20A. It's definitely going to be something that I will use in the future. Just don't know when, but whenever I need that solid coat of color, I will be using that. So that about wraps that up. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.